Okay, so I'm going to start with a few pieces of recycled paper. Doesn't matter if there's anything cut out of them or drawn on them. Just make sure it's the thinner paper, kind of like our free draw paper or any printed papers. And I'm going to crumble them, not too tight, but into these larger, long pieces, and then kind of mush them all together. I'm going to tape a little bit in the middle just to hold them in place. I did add a thicker piece to the middle because I wanted the middle to be the thickest part. And as I'm taping this around, I'm kind of squishing and molding my paper into whatever shape I would like it to be. Now, depending on what candy you choose, you're going to have a different kind of experience, but it all starts with bending and smushing and crumpling the paper in some way and then adding tape. So I'm covering the entire thing with tape. I don't want any paper left showing. I want the outside to just be the tape. That way it's all the same texture and all the same for when I paint it. So I'm wrapping the entire thing in tape and then even covering the edge where there is still a little paper showing at the bottom. Now, this is a longer shape because I'm going for Twizzlers, but pretty much the basic way of making a bag of candy. And I wasn't really happy with how skinny it looked, and it was a little thicker on one side. So just because I finished taping doesn't mean I have to be done sculpting and molding my paper. I'm just going to add another piece right on top to kind of even out the thickness on both sides. So even if you aren't happy with what you've done, don't throw it away. Just keep adding or subtracting. You could even cut things out of it until you're happy with this shape. It's going to be very different depending on what kind of candy you choose. So now I'm just attaching that piece that I added on there, and it's already starting to look a lot better and more even on both sides. And you're going to use a lot of tape, but try not to overuse. Really, you just need like one layer of tape unless you're adding and subtracting like I've done. But use your tape sparingly. Yes, you need a lot of tape, but do not waste tape or paper. And I went on along there with a second coat at the bottom just to make that look a little more even. So this is a basic bag that I've made. Of course, mine's longer. Here is the bubble gum that I made. So I left the ends open and then a smaller bag as well. So I didn't tape the ends for the bubble gum. And time to paint. So first I did a light drawing with my pencil of what the actual Twizzler bag looks like. That way I know where I do and don't want to paint different things, and I can leave spaces open. That way I don't have to wait for paint to dry as much as I would if I just painted over everything red first. So I'm going to start with that base layer. When I'm painting this, it's a little harder to get in all those little cracks and dents from the tape and the paint. So just make sure you're painting carefully and taking your time and covering up all of the white from the tape. You don't want any white showing because remember, we're trying to trick people and make them believe that this is a real bag of candy, and it would not look that way if I left lots of tape showing. I'm going to go in with a darker red color. You can see that I'm doing a little bit of mixing in my ice tray here, but I am switching out my brush or washing it really well in between colors. Anything that I think I maybe can't paint very well, if it's a really thin line or words, I'm going to leave that for later, and I'm going to use a paint pen to do that section. So once it's completely dry, I can go in with a paint pen and add those details. Remember, to make these work, I kind of have to press them into my messy mat a few times, make sure paint is coming out, and then I'm going to carefully go in and add all those smaller details. My candy has to be completely dry before I can use a paint pen, or it's just going to kind of run and all the colors are going to get mixed together. So if you painted one day, you probably won't get to use a paint pen until the next time. And I'm going to go in and add more details with a black paint pen. Make sure you can really see this word pop. And I think my Twizzlers turned out pretty good. Maybe I wouldn't fool anybody, and that's okay. That's my goal. It looks pretty good. Those last details are in there, and I am finished.